Dave, it's just past midnight, a little late podcast, and happy birthday.
Well, I guess technically it would be my birthday, wouldn't it?
It kind of is. Maybe after you wake up in the morning, you'll realize it's your birthday.
Yeah, big 4-6.
So, cheers.
Thank you.
Happy 30th again.
Thank you for that.
Gotta love the gin and tonics at midnight.
Just a bummer it's number 1, not number 4.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, so it is a very weird time because Oregon made national headlines again.
It's like they're almost trying to.
They're trying to beat New York for being the most progressive state.
I've said it before. You know, you have California that's always been known for a very progressive state, and you have New York as well. And I was always more nervous, like Oregon's worse because they're actually trying to outdo them.
Yeah,
and. Well, it sounds like they're successfully doing it.
Kate Brown is doing a good job.
Making a statement here.
Yeah, so the news story is that Kate Brown, our wonderful Oregon governor, has signed a bill that will eliminate some of the requirements for graduating in the state of Oregon.
And why couldn't she have done this in the 90s for me?
Yeah, it makes me think back. We had to do a senior project when we were in high school. And that was a graduation requirement.
Right. And it was extremely challenging. I mean, I remember that for my class, it was the first time for that school to have the, quote, senior project. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exaggerating when I say there's about 60 kids out of my class that dropped out because of it, at least that as an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is bothering me because she's basing this decision on because of equity. She's making this call because evidently, and I should probably look for the quote in here, because it just to me doesn't seem fair. Okay, in this world of equity, this is what she says. She says, and this is a statement from her press secretary or someone who's her mouthpiece, because she didn't want to talk to the press about this. She kind of signed this bill and didn't tell anyone about it. So
that's what commies do.
And so her it looks like the deputy communications director, Charles Boyle says in an email statement that suspending the reading, writing, and math proficiency requirements while the state develops new graduation standards will benefit Oregon's Black, Latino, Latinx, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, tribal, and students of color.
That statement is absolutely racist. Mm-hmm. Everybody should be ticked. Even the white people should be ticked because we have everybody in that whole list. We have loved ones and friends that are on that list, and they are not stupid.
Yeah,
they are exactly capable, and I wish I was as smart as some of the freaking people of color in my class. Mm-hmm. Because they were smarter than me, and they are, to me, it's a smack in their face making it sound like that they're incapable.
Mm-hmm.
And this is new to me because I've heard, bullet points, so I haven't understood the why. And so this is supposed to be from the sounds of it, it's supposed to be something that they're in the middle of changing. So this is supposed to be just something that they do while changing their curriculum. Is that what they're doing?
They're going to change the graduation standards, and it does say in this article someplace, this is from OregonLive.com, so the local Oregonian newspaper is reporting on this, but they're talking about suspending it for several years, and while they develop these new graduation requirements. And what bothers me about it is that they're lowering the standard. They're actually taking away all of these requirements as a way to benefit this group of students. And there's no mention of white people. And the reality is that in most scenarios, Asians actually are the top performing.
Right.
If you're looking at race or culture, they're generally the top performing, and they're still listed in this group. But white people are absent from it.
But it's racist to white people.
It is.
And then, in a different way, it's racist to everybody else they claim that they're helping by giving a benefit. I think That's offensive to me. I mean, because they're leaving us out in a sense.
Well, yeah,
But also is offensive to me that that's how they're talking about those
they're
the
doing
people, quote, people of color.
Yeah, they're doing it specifically because they're looking at graduation data, and they're seeing that certain groups are not performing as well, and they think that by removing these standards that suddenly the playing field is level again. My experience in this particular area is that the entire state is pushing this idea of equity. And I plan on having a podcast that's based on equity because a lot of people are not so clear on what equity is.
Equity, they confuse with equality.
They do.
And equality is fair. Equity isn't.
Well, but it's also racially motivated. So
that's right.
I can't tell you how many emails I get from different places advertising administrative trainings in equity or restorative justice, or all of these things that are the critical race theory buzzwords. And this is happening coming from the state. It's coming from these other organizations that support teachers and administrators in their furthering of their education or certifications or whatever their credentials might need to be. And we're seeing more and more of it. This is one of those pieces we don't have very many Republicans that represent Oregonians as it is. It's a major majority of Democrats.
Yeah. And
of course, the Republicans didn't vote for this because, they're labeling it as racist, as we are and a lot of other people are. And this whole thing is a march towards more of these sort of, I wouldn't necessarily say laws, but policies by the state.
Trying to change our culture. So because you mentioned something like they're going to do this for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, because you read something and it sounded like they're just going to do this while we implement that. But if it's going to be a couple years, Scott, my opinion here is how things have been going the last couple years is they're just going to keep pushing it out. It's never going to change. It's always going to be the same. If it's going to take a couple years to implement something, it's just, they're never going to implement it.
Well, think about our experience when we were in high school. We had, our senior project. The senior project eventually went away, and it was replaced by some other things. So they have changed graduation requirements over the years, but you're so bitter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's probably 60 kids that dropped out. Maybe at least 10 of those kids that really dropped out because of it. That probably ticked.
So I graduated in 97, and I think that the senior project died off right around 2000.
Oh.
I'm guessing it's in that.
Well, they had
range.
it for a while then.
They did have it for a while.
But it wasn't a bad thing, I didn't think.
Yeah.
I thought it was for a guy like me to say that, I don't think it was asking too much. I thought it was...
Well, let me clarify. Those of you listening have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Senior project for us was basically a requirement that you spend a certain number of hours working towards a completed project, and that required a paper that you would write and a presentation that you would make. And it also had a number of volunteer hours that you had to complete.
Yeah, that's right.
You had to have some people in the community sign off on those number of hours. And really, the goal was to give these high school seniors an opportunity to get out into the community and do some things that would actually positively impact them and the community.
Mm-hmm.
And it being part of a graduation requirement meant you actually needed to spend some time outside of your classroom time to do this project.
Right.
And it was not easy, but going through it, looking back on it, I can totally see the value in a kid actually doing research, accumulating hours, figuring out how to do a skill. For me, my senior project was centered around, I wanted to be a PE teacher when I graduated. So I shadowed one of my old PE teachers, in fact, from Hoodview, way back in the day. And so I participated in Mrs. Maxted's PE class. And I taught some of her students. I remember very specifically, I enjoyed playing volleyball, and so we were teaching some of the kids how to play volleyball, and so she was showing the kids how to bump, set, and I would spike. And then I helped kind of organize the class a little bit, and it was a fantastic time. I can't remember how many hours. I mean, it wasn't like 40 hours, I don't think. I can't remember how many hours you had to accumulate, but it was an enjoyable experience. And then I had to take that and write up a presentation and a report and present it to a board of teachers at some point down the road. And I struggled in it because I was not very good at writing or presenting. I mean, which is crazy thinking I'm doing a podcast in front of the cameras because I was deathly afraid of speaking in public.
That's it's funny for me because I didn't like it either, but the senior project, I'm old, 46, we already established that today.
You need to count fingers and toes.
I'll still lose count if I try, but I still use my senior project often, and probably every year, a few times a year, as an example.
What did you do?
So not even necessarily what I did, but how I did it, you know, and having my daughter, this is a couple years ago, she had to do a project. So I told her what I did, which I sucked. But it taught me something because to this day, I told her I still strive and put myself in the position of, I always want to be a better public speaker, which is weird. You know, I can make an ass of myself in front of 1,000 people, no problem. But if I want those people to come away with something and something's planned out, I'm going to mess it up. If I'm winging it, sure. So I'll try to be quick. So I did mine on building a church in Mexico. And so I had to write. I totally Joe Biden my whole, sorry. I plagiarized my whole paper I wrote, for the most part, I won't lie. And I still did a poor job on it. My punctuation was poor. But anyways, the speech and the presentation was very, very big for me too. And I had all these little note cards. And I practiced and practiced and practiced. And so it was time to do it. And I thought I had everything down. And I screwed up literally so bad in like the first 20 seconds. And 20 seconds is a good period of time. So I'm trying to be realistic. It wasn't 2 minutes. The whole thing was probably 3 or 4 minutes. And so the first 20 seconds was so bad. I just looked at my teacher who really tolerated me, appreciated me, helped me. I said to my teacher, I'm like, nope. I'm starting over. I took the cards, I tossed it on the ground, and of course they didn't just stay on the ground. They just kind of fan out. And I started, she goes, okay, Dave. And I started over, and I call it winging it. I know what the heck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
And I went up there, and I got a good B, I was messing it up, and it was because of my butterflies or whatnot. And so at work, whenever there's an opportunity, and I'm not kidding you, I will be sweating a spot on the seat, just nervous, but I have to do it. I have to try to do it. And tell my daughter on the things that I do and when I'm talking and how I talk, and I'm failing. I'm not even good at it. She goes in and does these presentations at school that are like college quality. And I'm blown away.
Hit that subscribe button and the bell notifications if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're just listening to the podcast, again, please share it with others that might be interested in listening. And until we see you next time, take care.
And be safe.